Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we're going to be checking out a track from an act named Deep Purple titled Black Knight. And if we switch over to here, I am truly running the gauntlet as I am unsure as whether or not this is going to get past YouTube copyright. My concern is that it may simply just get blocked because I'm reviewing a band that I've heard does do that, and if that's the case, it's what it is. I completely respect that. It's just good to be able to sort of analyze it. But we're going to listen through this track from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's do it. Let's go. What do we got? I love the fuzziness of the guitar takes. Great call and response with the leads there, with the tremolos as well. Nice tight tone to the drums as well. The bass in time with the drums like this is fantastic. It's all on the left side though. I've just clicked to that. It's kind of weird having the guitar on the left side, but I appreciate the mono recordings that were occurring back then as I understand it. The limitations of the technology at that stage. Or maybe it's deliberate. It's always been kind of like an awkward transition for me there, going straight into the 1 and 2 and the 3 and the 4 and when there's been this sort of triplet flow the entire time. But it does help to sort of shake things off and maybe sort of show a difference in the direction of the remainder of the piece. And further shred. And an elegant little fade out at the end. Tremendous. Fantastic. We're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. And so welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Deep Purple titled Black Knight, again the 1995 remaster. So first of all, what do we think this track is about? If I'm honest with you, having a quick look at the lyrics in my own time, it seems like someone who is not wanting a whole lot of trouble or difficulty in their life. You know, they don't want a dark tree or a rough sea. They're struggling to feel and they can't see. They don't want to sit tight. They don't feel too bright. They're just going through some heavy sort of situations there. They just want to find a way way down the line to be free. Black night is a long way from home, so it almost sort of insinuates that they're stuck in this black night and they're just struggling to get out of it. And that kind of funk that they're in is almost a permanent thing that they're aching to avoid. So it's interesting. I dig it. That's my interpretation of what the track is about from the story. I think we're like an audience for it. I mean, clearly it's a successful track, but also even nowadays, I think people can relate to being sort of covered by that awful kind of blanket, that kind of misery fog. The vocals of the track are sung really well. There is a very palatable tone to the vocalist where they're not trying to overact, if that makes sense. There's kind of like a cool sort of suave feel to it where they kind of have a bluesy, rocky affectation to it. And they navigate really effortlessly, whether as a main sort of like lead or in sort of rhythmic and harmonic unison with the bass, guitar, and drum parts in those transfers. And they hold those held notes really well at the end of the chorus section, and they know when to sort of step out and allow the organ and guitar sections to come in and sort of do their piece on either side of the stereo field. Very comfortable in their head and chest voice. They show their range well, and honestly, it's just a fantastic time listening to them. It seems like an effortless performance and not a note out of place. Just a really solid performance. So the track at 3 minutes 30 is really well fleshed out. We have several verse sections and then like chorus parts there, or at least that part of like the individual stanzas, and these sort of like 3 acts to it. They are dispersed between different the kind of main guitar riffs there, as well as those really kind of affecting drum fills there with various sort of triplet and 16th note phrasings. It is nice to have structurally those different guitar leads I'll talk about in a moment, as well as a call and response in between. They're putting a lot of effort in to make this track interesting to listen through the entire time. There is absolutely no sleeping on this. Even the bass guitar, it's fantastic to have the bass not just stick to the root notes, to be able to sort of like explore the scales and modes present, and to be able to go away from those kind of like low notes to have their own sort of independence within the track while still being supportive of everything else above it. The drums are incredibly sort of like solid with the chord note accents for a lot of it, with some interesting sort of syncopated parts and others to sort of like switch things up. The triplet fills that we have there mixing with the snares and the toms as well, exploring the drum kit really effectively. Nice and loud with the crashes when we need to be, but sort of like stringent and reliable with the hi-hats, snares and kicks and stuff as well. And again, we're not afraid to sort of like mess with the expectations of the listener again with those 16th note bits in that final sort of like drum fill before the final stanza. Even though I'm not necessarily still a fan of it, I appreciate the fluidity there and the creativity to sort of try and attempt something like that to illustrate maybe a change of pace. The guitar parts go between power chords and sort of individual kind of like little kind of rhythmic, leady, melodic parts there that have lots of little hammer on and pulley off of bits, and we're comfortable with slides as well. There's a bit of sass to the groove, to be honest. There's some fine technique involved. The lead parts there with the tremolo bar being well sort of like facilitated within it. It's incredibly it's just incredibly cool. You know, we had people kind of doing if they could with that to kind of get a wow kind of sound there in a way which makes it almost sound kind of spacey and otherworldly. And it is almost like a palate cleanser for when you're kind of getting used to the riff, and then it switches it up. There's never too much of the same. We're very comfortable with sort of like bruisey pentatonic phrasings in the various solo sections there, a bit of shred quick with the 16ths and quarters, and triplets. But never too much. It still sounds like it's like a melody we could kind of sing some of the time, aside from, again, that sort of crazy tremolo stuff. It reminds me a lot of music from that era then, when we were really sort of like still formulating a sort of a personality aside from the rock and roll kind of unison oriented stuff there. But I like that we explore the higher range there, and the organ on the other side of the stereo field there with that kind of glitchy tone to it with like that sizzle and sass, which is a fantastic sort of different texture on the other side of the stereo field that did sort of catch your attention there. It was nice to have them on either side, because you're like, oh, this is on this side now. What's going on? Because you're originally wondering why the guitar is on the other side instead of the center, because a lot of the time is we're used to the stereo field having the lead in the center, such as the vocals. But yeah, honestly, just really, really effective there. I think that, again, there was a very fluent performance across the board there with the minors and pentatonics and bluesy phrasings kind of like settled their different chord progressions per part as well. We weren't sticking with the same bass line the entire time. Lots of variation, a little sort of adjustments of tails and stuff as we go through without staying on anything too long. Really tight performance with chemistry between the members of the band. And again, I just want to sort of point out before the studio production that I appreciated the vocalists being on their own for the majority of the time, if not the whole time, primarily because it sort of illustrated that they themselves were telling the story from their perspective. Finally, the studio recording, the mixing and mastering is fantastic. I like the sound of it from its time. There's this kind of crispy vintage tone there with kind of the graininess of a lot of the elements from the guitar, the bass, the drums, again, the organs. The fact that they are kind of asymmetrical within the stereo field out of maybe necessity due to the way it was recorded. The fact that we couldn't have necessarily polished up the vocals in post or sort of sweetened it up beyond the fundamentals, so we just needed to do a really rock solid performance on the mic in order to be able to captivate, and we accomplished that in that we had a fantastic chemistry between the instrumentalists and musicians involved. There was a great energy and glow to it and pull to it. I liked the fade out at the end there, very kind of classy way to sort of sign us out when we didn't know a sort of clean way to kind of like end it. And I think that was fantastic. There was dynamic range to it, and it was nice to allow without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting was handled. I mean, it was a tight mix, don't get me wrong. It's not like there were massive peaks and troughs, but it was just enough not to make it feel squeezed. And ultimately, just, I appreciate their work. And I think that it's testament to what could be accomplished again with both performance and sort of like studio production at a point in time. It's the best of both worlds, even though it is a remaster. I love it. I think it's great. And I'm glad that it's a song that I've had to learn as part of the sort of the Trinity sort of like curriculum. So thank you very much for watching my review of this track from an act named Deep Purple titled Black Knight, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via the various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever. Thought of crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SB reviews. Spiderhands out.